All right, welcome. This is now week 8 of the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and this week we'll be studying laws number 16 and 17. So we'll go ahead and jump into the law of the Big Mo. That says that momentum is the leader's best friend. So we look at a very fascinating story that began back in the 70s, and it dealt with a guy that was moving into the world of animation and wanted to start working with making full-length movies as an animator, but just kind of got into it and realized he just wasn't up to the cut. And so he shifted out of that and started working on computers. And then it wasn't but sometime after that he realized, hey, the computers are now increasing in their capacity to be able to do some of the stuff I like to do, which is animation, and we can start making movies with the help of computers and use special effects and make life a whole lot easier. And so they developed a company that became Pixar. Now, Pixar, of course, now has made a lot of the movies that just kind of warm your heart and make you laugh and tickle your funny bone. But they've done a lot of special effects, especially with George Lucas and some of the Star Trek series as well. But it took a long time to get this concept off the ground. And one thing I'd like you to pay special attention to is in 194, page 194, it says, while it was struggling to become profitable, Pixar began making short films to demonstrate the power of its technology. One of those films was known as Luke So Jr., the film of the that lamp and the baby lamp. And they used this to present to the various clients to show the power, the capabilities of what could happen. Well, finally, after better animators were brought on board and slowly over a process of 10, 15 years, Pixar began to get some clout. They got some traction, and then things started to move for them. And of course, they were bought by Disney, and they were hired to make several full-length motion films. Of course, Toy Story being one of those. And what was interesting is that while Pixar was building momentum that would carry them on into the 21st century, Disney was losing momentum. And a lot of that was because they were making some foolish decisions on their family ethics, and they had a major boycott because of their anti-family positions on a few things. And it took Disney a long time and another CEO to get over that lack of momentum and recover. But Pixar, as its own wing of that company, continued to build and boom forward. And the point of that story is that there was a good idea that happened with some good technology and some good resource, but it took one man's idea. He also ended up getting in line with Steve Jobs and another solid animator, Jeff Lasseter, and finally, after a lot of networking and a lot of hard work and proposals and free demonstrations, the momentum picked up and carried this company along. But once that momentum started, it really makes life a lot easier for the people that are in it, in the organization. And this brings us to this statement here. Many times, momentum is the only thing that makes the difference between winning and losing. There's the illustration in the book about when basketball teams are competing. If you get one team that's going on a several basket streak, one of the best things the opposing coach can do is just to call for a timeout, to say, hey, let's interrupt the system for just a minute and see if we can break some of the momentum, give our guys a little breath of fresh air, and then see what we can do to get back in the game. The coaches know that intuitively. So let's talk about this. Which comes first, momentum or growth? What do you think? It is a little bit of a tricky question there, isn't it? They do tend to go really close together. Once you start, that's the trick though. Once you start, you don't want to stop. You want to have this snowball effect where you can learn how to build off of the speed, the weight, the inertia, and keep moving forward. When you have momentum, small problems don't matter. Success is what matters, and winning is what matters. So you start moving at the speed of the momentum, and learning how to prioritize, what we're going to talk about in the next chapter. But you learn that you keep that inertia in a forward motion, and of course you'll learn this. But momentum is your responsibility as a leader. It's not something that that is a morale-based thing. You're the leader. You build the morale, and through the morale and the success the energy that's created, momentum will start to move. You can't kindle a fire in any other heart until it's burning within your own, says Eleanor Doan, and that's a true statement. You've got to make it work first with you, and then it'll go to make a difference in those around you. So let's talk about how that works. You got a train that's traveling. A train it's a big piece of machinery, and at 55 miles an hour, when it hits a wall or a car, it can burst right through that, or barrel right through that. Why? Because it's got momentum. But if you have that same train and it's stuck, you can put a little 2x4 on the rails in front of the train itself, and that train won't be able to move. So this idea is that it takes a lot of intent. It takes a lot of work to get this thing moving. But once you get the track cleared off and this thing is moving, then of course the goal is to keep it going, and that force will help you barrel through a lot of the oppositions and obstacles you'll encounter. So how are you geared for traveling? We talked about this several times, in that the law of process comes back to, this is interlinked with that law of process. I want to be geared towards momentum, so I'm continually looking ahead at what can I do better, what can I do more, what can I do to network with more people, to spread the impact of this business with more people that it can help out. How can I enhance the products that I'm giving the customers, so that once this thing launches, it's not going to be easily stopped, but it'll be a blessing to a lot of people. So let's talk about your handout there. Momentum is the great exaggerator. It's a good thing, and that can also be a really bad thing. There were some really rotten leaders, like Adolf Hitler, that had a lot of momentum going. And there were a lot of coup attempts, but they would get to a point ready to take over the government and deal with Hitler, and then all of a sudden he would win another victory. And the people of Germany would stand with Hitler, and so the opposing government realized, oh, this might not be an appropriate time or a successful time for us to take action. And so even despite the fact that Hitler had over 20 assassination attempts on his head, he harnessed that momentum until finally the Allies broke through and shut them down. But here's the point. Momentum is an exaggerator. Momentum will make you look better than you are. And so you have to make sure right now that your ethics are screwed down tight and that your ethics will not be violated when you get the ball moving and life seems to be able to carry you along. That statement is true. The lust for power will devour. And that's true whether it's in politics or whether it's even in social organizations or charities. Lust for power have destroyed a lot of charities and churches. And that's, of course, also true in business. Corrupt business leaders, they can harness momentum and do themselves and their employees and their clients great damage. So one of the things to work into momentum is a good, solid ethic. And I know I'm talking to some young people here. I know how this is. Young leaders often get a lot less credit than you deserve because you're still in ground zero when it comes to momentum. You've got to learn how to get that train moving, and even though you might have the resources or the know-how, that train still has to move before people are going to be really impressed. Momentum will also help followers perform better, because once you've got something that is happening, once you've got a plane that's taken off, I mean, people want to be part of that, and so to be part of that, they're gonna move in higher performance to say, what can I do to carry us further, to make us go faster, and it's going to bring out the best in people. And to keep that harnessed, make sure that when you're working with other people, whether they are your clients or whether they are your coworkers or even influencers that may not have a direct link, but you certainly owe them something, be sure to take some time out to express your gratitude toward them. That'll keep you humble, and it'll also keep them encouraged so you can keep forward movement in right perspective. Like that train, got to get that train moving. That first part is going to be really tough. So you just got to put the legwork in. You got to put the grunt work in, and then you got to also make sure that you're thinking long term, because once this train gets moving, it can slow down if you don't keep up the pressure. So you got to be thinking ahead, but pushing hard, especially at the first. Initial work is toughest, and it's easier to steer than the start. So once you've got it started, you can keep it directed. Momentum is a very powerful change agent. Once you've got that weight to swing, then people are going to start listening, and your ability to influence them it'll create doors of opportunity for you, both inside and outside your organization. And don't forget this, it's really, really easy to look around and to be very upset with people's poor performance. You're gonna deal with people that have poor performance. It's just a fact of life, and learning how to negotiate with that is going to be something that you get through. But that force of momentum is always going to be something that is your responsibility, even if you've got some people whose attitudes need adjustments, or maybe their output doesn't meet quality control. To keep that momentum going, you got to stay on top of that. Give them encouragement, give them feedback, but don't let their poor output or their lack of enthusiasm derail the train. But that's part of learning as a leader to grow and to go forward. Momentum will always begin inside the leader. That's why you are where you are. You're interested in going further, and the momentum is going to be building from you. Don't forget this. I love when I hear people tell stories, and for lack of artistic ingenuity, they just say, and all of a sudden, you know, there's a story that's been happening for 200 years or for 20 years, and then all of a sudden something blossomed. Well, it didn't just, not too many things happened just all of a sudden, or people suddenly realized. But there has been something growing to reach a boiling point, and once it reached the boiling point, then everybody notices what had been happening for a very long time. You can be an overnight success after your 20 years of hard work. It'll take some time to get that developed, but once it develops, learn how to use it and how to harness it. Fascinating story of a man named Jaime Escalante, an immigrant from Bolivia. He loved to inspire people, to motivate people, to challenge them, to lead them. Even when he was a youngster there in Bolivia. And he came in his 30s. He immigrated with his family to the United States and settled down in Los Angeles, and did some work at a restaurant and at an electronics company, and just realized there wasn't enough engagement to lead and inspire people as he was hoping. And so he said, I want to be a teacher. And he got a couple of degrees, and after that he started teaching in this really roughneck zone in Los Angeles. Discipline was crazy. The school was in chaos. Students roamed anywhere and everywhere. At any time, gang activity was going on. But Jaime Escalante said, we can do better than this. And he tackled a really tough course in applied physics for calculus, and challenged the students to say, hey, you take this and take me on, and spent the time with the students in the handball courts, and met with them an hour and a half before class began, stayed with them till well after school was closed, and all of a sudden, there I go again, over a lot of time, the hard work, the diligent years of effort that he'd put into this began to pay off. And he had taken a place that was absolutely hopeless and had given them a college credit class that many students now were taking and excelling in. It took 9 years of hard work to get this program spearheaded. But once he got that program flying, the students, more than 325 applied physics examinations. They took their examinations, and they had an astonishing pass rate in this calculus course. So what this guy did was he harnessed that power of momentum. He kept building it and working it and plowing into it until finally it made the impact in a really rough neighborhood, and it paid off for him. So let's talk about applying this. To get momentum going, it's got to be a passion of yours. Do you have a vision that you're passionate about? In that passion, are you expressing it? Do people know this is what you're about? Do people sense that fire? Are you contagious in the good sense of the word? Momentum is built by motivation. So are the people around you that are demotivating? Do you need to encourage them or ignore them? And while you're thinking about this, what kind of success can you report? Success is a genuine motivator. This is not just happy, positive mental attitude, frame of mind. Real momentum starts with a good attitude, but I mean, real momentum is going to be carried along with real success. So one of the things you want to do as a leader and as a developing businessman is start looking at what you have done in the past. Make sure you write it out and be able to report on that, and also learn from any and every lesson that you can to say, you know, this worked because we did this well. And then capitalize. How can we do this again? What are you working on? What are you working on? And I have there, remember the lamp. That's the Pixar lamp. That's something that they developed to show people what they could do with their company. What are you doing to show off what you can do with your line of work?